What is up, RAVER fam? Welcome to another episode of the RAVER podcast with your host, Tyler Hardy. And as always, I just want to take a moment to express my overwhelming love and gratitude to each and every single one of you guys who tune in on a daily and weekly basis to talk all things RAVER and everything that we talk about on this podcast with the main intention of assisting you in becoming the most self-loved and self-actualized version of yourself that you can possibly be. So then that way you can share your gift with the world and make the world a better place because, as we all know, the world needs it now more than ever. So now is the time to do the work and become what it is that I know that you're capable of becoming, and I'm here to help you do that. So hopping into today's episode, one thing that the subject that I want to talk about is specifically congruency. And I'm going to explain what congruency is and how it's changed my life in so many ways, because it's allowed me to set new values and standards for myself, because I know for a fact that if you don't have good values and standards for yourself, then you're going to get whatever is around you. You're going to become a byproduct of the circumstances of your external environment if you're not consciously creating for yourself on a daily basis. And I'll explain, that I wasn't always like that. I was the product of not being consciously aware. I was the product of not, showing up for myself in proper ways, by not being discerning of who and what and where I was spending my time and energy and the results it was getting for me, and how I use congruency on a daily basis to allow myself to really focus in on what it is that is really important to me, so then that way I can get more of the things that I want and continue to move everything that's important to me in the right direction, whether that be my health, mental health, my relationships, RAVER, other business ventures, my finances, my time, my spiritual practices. All the things that I do that are important to me are all geared around making sure that we have good congruency with the actions. And really where that starts is having clarity on vision and having the clarity of where it is that you're wanting to go. And if you're someone who's listening to this right now and you don't know where you want to go with life, you don't know what you want to do, you don't know what your passion and purpose is, it is okay. Everything divinely shows up at the perfect time when you do the work that you need to do, when you do the healing and the journeying and you really get intimate with yourself and self-reflect on a deep level. It's going to open up a completely different world to you that's going to be much more abundant and happy and joyous, that's going to give you that inspiration, that's going to show you the path, that's going to give you what it is that you're needing and desiring for yourself. And so it's really important to know that before, I was, like, for lack of a better term, a friend of mine says this is like a plastic bag in the wind in a lot of ways. I had a lot of identity issues. I had a lot of, needing to seek others' opinions and validation. And it led to me molding to the people that were in my life and becoming like them, for better and worse, because I didn't have a strong sense of identity. I was just doing whatever I needed to do and mirroring, my external environment to gain love, appreciation, safety, whatever it was in whatever form that it would come in. And so the person that's talking to you right now is a completely different person than the one that was existing in that place. And so what I'm getting at here is no matter where you're at on your journey and when you're listening to this, there's opportunity for you to step into that. But it might require a little bit of work. It might require a little bit of time, a little bit of healing, a little bit of that self-reflection to get clear on what it is that you want. And I've spent years getting clear on what I want. And it's one of those things where it slowly starts to fade away, the things that are insignificant. The more that you keep doing the healing, the meditation, the gratitude journaling, becoming aware of your relationship dynamics and how you're contributing to the relationships that you're having and how others are contributing to the quality outcomes of your life. And so my advice on this is that it's going to show up in divine perfection, like all things do, at the perfect time and the perfect moment, contingent upon you doing the things that I talk about in regards to the healing and the emotional work that's required to energetically become light enough to bring in those genius ideas, to bring in those opportunities, to bring in those people, to bring in the synchronicities, the things that you're desiring that are going to help you, get in alignment. Because the thing, whatever this is that created us and the energy that, is universal intelligence, it wants to help you. It wants to help you become what it is that it knows that you can become. And the question is, are you blocking yourself from that potential? Are you blocking yourself from the greatest potential outcome? And I can speak that when I was more in that realm of consciousness, I blocked myself from a lot of opportunities. I kept myself average to the people that I was around. and wasn't living fully in my truth and my full potential, like I'm actively pursuing now on a daily basis. And so getting back to it, gaining the clarity is super important. It's everything. The more clear you are, the more sharp you are, the better you take care of your health, your microbiome, the better you take care of your mental health through meditation and gratitude journaling. The better you keep good people around you and find new people that, are going to help you and assist you in getting to where you want to go, and vice versa. Excuse me. The more that you're going to start gaining that clarity, the more you're going to start finding what it is that you want to do. So no matter where you're at, you're perfectly where you're supposed to be listening to this. Like, I do believe that, and I know this. And so taking that time to give yourself the space to reflect, slowing down and really reflecting and getting intimate with yourself is going to unlock a new version of you that you didn't even know existed. Like, it's mind bending when you start getting to those points where you start gaining that clarity and that level of health and awareness towards what it is that you desire for yourself. It's absolutely incredible. And so once we have that clarity, once we're at the point in which we are knowing what we want, knowing what we desire for ourselves, we are able to start creating what I call congruency. Congruency in our thoughts, congruency in our actions, congruency in our behaviors, congruency in the things that we do, in the activities that we participate, the things that we subject our body to, the sacrifices that we make, the choices and decisions. We're able to create congruency. Now, what is congruency? This is something that, for a minute, took me a minute to really conceptualize what congruency meant. Congruency is looking clearly at the vision that you have for your life, for what you desire, the place that you desire to live, the work that you aspire to do, the family you desire to have, whatever it is that you desire to have in your life, whatever the clarity is that you gain on what it is that you want to do and how you want to fill up your precious moments of life. And getting clear on that. Once we're clear, we can create congruency. For example, I have a desire to be around 180 pounds or so, give or take, depending on where my body composition's at, right around that range. I'm at like 195 right now. I've lost 105, 106 pounds at this point. I realized, and I kept myself stuck for a number of reasons, on an emotional level, on a physical level, with the foods I was eating, right around like that 210 pound mark. That's what I weighed in high school. It was just like a place where I was like comfortable, and I wasn't being entirely congruent, and I stayed in that place for a long time. And at some point recently, within the past like 5 to 6 months, when I moved down here to Austin, I was like, okay, if you really want to get to where you want to go, you need to be congruent in everything that you're doing. I audited myself. I looked at my exercise program, and I was like, okay, well, you're not putting enough output. You're not resting enough. You're not sleeping well enough. You're exposing yourself to too much blue light. You are not eating perfectly. You're eating well, but not perfectly. You're not dialed. And you get to a point where like you start getting to those points where you start doing great things and hitting those upper echelons. You have to be dialed. You have to be really focused and clear on where you're going. And so I had to audit myself. I had to be honest with myself, and I had to find congruency. And this is where the congruency piece comes in here. Is congruency is one of those things where, hey, this is where I want to go. What do I need to do? Who do I get to be? What actions do I get to carry out on a daily basis that are going to make me congruent with what I desire? And a lot of that comes down to the ability to be honest with yourself and be truthful with yourself and feeling worthy of those things, And I just got to the point where I was tired of being in this repetitive cycle and not getting anywhere. But I also knew that I was self-inflicting that repetitive cycle. No one was putting food in my mouth. No one was making me not go all out of my workouts. No one was, keeping me from those things. Only I was. And so by finding more congruency and saying, okay, I'm going to get to this goal. I'm going to hit this goal, no problem. What do I need to do? Okay, I need to be more dialed with the foods that I eat. I need to make sure my microbiome is completely cleansed. I need to make sure I'm supplementing properly. I'm drinking my RAVER. I need to make sure that I'm using my amino acids. I need to make sure that I'm taking, all the things that I need to take to make sure my hormones are in a good spot. Making sure that I'm giving myself the highest likelihood and probability of success possible. Make sure I'm going to bed earlier. make sure that I'm not oversleeping, make sure that I am, not exposing myself to too much blue light before bed so that way I'm getting quality sleep. All these different things, right? Finding that congruency. And when we find that congruency in ourselves, it really gives us the ability to easily pass on things that we used to not pass on, because I have a vision of what I want to experience and how I want to feel physically. And that to me is more important than anything that I eat, any sort of temptation that I get from someone else, and helps me make clear decisions because I have a clarity of where I'm going. The problem that most people experience, and I'm sure that you've experienced this in your life because we are human and we're not born with this guidebook on all the things that we know now. The things that I know now, I wasn't born with these things. I learned these through trial and error and experience. So there's no such thing as failure there because I was learning from the experience. Is that I have found that congruency. I was honest with myself and the weight started coming off and I've been feeling great, more vibrant, energetic. I know what foods my body wants. Now it's just becoming more of an autopilot thing. Because when we start setting that congruency, when we have the clarity, which is what I was getting at, is like I have a clear vision of what I want. And most people struggle because they don't have that clear vision. And if you don't have it, that's completely okay. You will have it. I know you will. And you need to really hone in that belief that you're going to at some point and bring that into the now moment. And start, our minds are really good at finding what we don't want as opposed to what we do want, because we're just the way that our brains are hardwired. So if anything, if you're having a hard time saying, okay, they're finding that clarity and to get the congruency that you want, ask yourself this: what do I not want? Okay, well, I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to put strain on my body. I don't want to feel inflamed when I eat food. I don't want my gut to hurt all the time when I'm eating food. I want my body to process foods well. I want to have a lot of energy and vitality. I don't want to feel sluggish and lethargic anymore. I don't want to feel so. I want to feel incredible. Okay, focus on doing the things that are congruent with what you don't want. And what I mean by that, and it kind of sounds weird, is start identifying the things that are causing the effect of you feeling the things that you don't want to feel. And then start taking action in the opposite direction. And then before you know it, because you're putting focus into the things that are congruent, that are constructive for you, you'll start finding more of the things that are going to help optimize you and the timing in which to do it. And that's how we start creating congruency. And then once you start in one area and you get really good at it, you start applying it to everything. How can I be more congruent with my business? How can I be more congruent with our mission here at RAVER? How can I continue to be congruent in my relationships, how I show up for myself and others? You start creating consistency for yourself. You start creating a new version of yourself. And that's what puts you into such a high level of human experience, is that congruency. So when, people are like, hey, you want to go out? You want to do this? No, I'm good. I'm just going to read. Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do things that are congruent for me, because staying congruent to me is much more important than anything that I would be gaining from any of the experiences that I know that aren't going to take me in the right direction. So that congruency is very important. And I hope that you take this away, because this is something that when it clicked for me, it started changing my life rapidly. And it's something that I know that if you embody and integrate early on, it's going to put you into a position where you're really going to be able to start making leaps and bounds and compounding those wins on a daily basis, so that way you can start getting more out of life and, again, keep getting more clarity. It's a really positive feedback loop that you're creating for yourself, because when you start doing the things that are congruent, you start creating those hardwired neural circuitry patterns in your brain that reward those things, that want you to keep doing those things. So in that way you start doing it effortlessly. You don't even think about it. It feels weird not to do the things that are congruent. You can't even imagine not doing the congruent thing. Being incongruent feels so weird. It doesn't feel right anymore. And so many people in our society live in incongruency. That's why we see depression rates so high, anxiety rates so high, suicide rates so high. We see all these things that's through the roof. It's because people are living incongruently with their full potential, because they don't know what their full potential is, because they haven't given themselves the time to get clear on what it is that they want to become and how they want to become it and what that feeling feels like. And once they do that, then they can easily start making decisions. Hey guys, just wanted to pop in really quickly on a quick commercial here. So I want to talk about RAVER and why we created the product and what the whole purpose of everything that we do here is about, because it's so much more than just a product. It's about a movement towards higher levels of human consciousness. But I do want to talk about the product a little bit, and I don't really talk about it too much on the podcast because I want to make sure that we're delivering quality information for you guys. It's uninterrupted, but this is one of those exceptions. So today I want to talk about the Superberry product that we have here at RAVER and all the things that are in it, because it's not just electrolytes. We use a proprietary cell salt blend that's going to help out with rapid rehydration compared to other electrolyte sticks that have very standard electrolyte blends. But also we put full doses of vitamin C, vitamin D, all your B vitamins in the product as well, which have been shown in scientific studies to help out with reducing the risk of neurodegradation and health degradation over time, as well as supporting your immune system and other vital functions in the body. And then the big thing that we're really proud of here is what we focus on with neuroprotection. And when we use nootropics in proper dosing and efficacious dosing, the benefits that I can bring to you in numerous different ways and shapes and forms. And so we use a lot of huperzine and alpha GPC and L-theanine, and those particular ingredients are going to help out with inducing a flow state because they're non-stimulative and they help out with reducing anxiety and giving you a nice tunnel of focus without actually affecting your adrenal glands that much. And that's the problem with most stimulants nowadays, is they shoot your adrenal glands, and that's something we didn't want to do. We didn't want to detract from your health as a byproduct of some of the ingredients that we're putting in our product, as well as ingredients like L-glutamine for muscle recovery and for digestion, and as well as acetyl L-carnitine, which has been shown to help out with reducing things like Alzheimer's, the risk for Alzheimer's as well. So there's just a lot of really good things that we put in our product. And we also use, a big thing is we don't use natural flavors. Natural flavors are one of those things that when I really started doing research, it was something that was not to the standard that I expected. It's one of those things that I refuse to put in our product at this point, just because it's really not something that we can account for fully with the way that it's made and the way that it's processed. And it's not really what we expect when we create a top tier product here at RAVER. And so what we use, like specifically in the Superberry, is the real extracts from the berries. So the elderberry, the acai, the blueberry, which is loaded with polyphenols and antioxidants, which help out with free radical formation and just help keep your body from all the oxidative stresses that we experience on a day-to-day basis and at music festivals. So I want to keep this short, but I just wanted to hop in and just share a little bit about our products, because I think there's a lot of people that are listening to this podcast that don't really know a ton about what we do here at RAVER, and we just want to educate as many people in as many ways as we can, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So in that way we can help you become the most self-actualized and self-love version of yourself possible. And so if that's something that interests you, then be sure to check us out at www.drinkraveraid.com. And we'll be getting back to the episode right now. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Alrighty, and getting back to what we were talking about before, sorry for the brief intermission, we really noticed that people struggle with being able to, find that clarity, which is making it where it's harder to be congruent in their day-to-day life. And so that's why we see, like I mentioned before the commercial, high amounts of anxiety, stress, lower vibrational frequency, anxiety, depression, you name it, suicide rates through the roof, and mental disorders, because of the fact that, people are having a hard time finding clarity in what ignites their soul on fire, what makes them happy, and keeps them from those lower vibrational states of incoherence with their heart and mind. And we're here to help. We're here to be as much of a guiding light as we can possibly be, to enable you to do the inner work, to take the time and reflect and heal, so then that way you can step into what it is that you're actually wanting to create for yourself. And as a byproduct of that, you're going to gain the clarity. It's a really, like I mentioned before, a positive feedback loop that happens when we find congruency in what it is that we're passionate about, and we become what it is that we're capable of being as a byproduct. And that's why I loved RAVER so much, because RAVER has been that self-development tool for myself, because there's a level of congruency that I expect from myself and I expect from the team on a daily basis, and I need to live up to that. I get to live up to that, and I get to make my new identity around that and what I do and who we serve and how we help and the products we make. And so the more congruent that I am, the more congruent the business becomes, the more healed that I become, the better the quality of the business and the products we create. And it's a direct reflection of who I am as a person, who we are as people. And we hope that you guys feel that and know that we're doing everything we can to continue to make better and better products and, be more environmentally friendly and do all the things that we know that we need to do to help make a sustainable, planet for tomorrow and our future generations, while also helping people heal their bodies and their neurochemistry. So it's just one of those things where I want you to take away from this episode. Give yourself permission to have the time to find the clarity that you need. And that could take time. It takes perfect amounts of time. It's going to show up right when you need it in the perfect ways, because that's what happens when we believe that things are actually working out for us to our highest regard. And from there, once we gain more clarity, then we're able to start finding congruency. We're able to start seeing the things that are keeping us from what it is that we're desiring. We're able to start bridging that gap and actually becoming what it is that we're capable of becoming, and getting out of our own way and really starting to be willing to do the healing, to do the deep dives, to put in that extra work, to think creatively, think outside the box to get the solutions that we previously couldn't see in a more limited realm of consciousness. And so there's so many things, like life begins to open up to you in so many ways when you start finding more congruency in what it is that you're doing on a daily basis. And that's just what we're here to do. And I hope that you found some good value in this episode. So make sure, as always, like I say, integrate. Take what felt true to you, because it's got to feel true to you and vibrationally resonate for you in order for it to actually make a lasting change. So take what felt true to you, if anything felt true in this episode, and then find a way to integrate it into your daily life. Ask yourself the questions that you need to ask yourself around congruency and clarity, and what things are causing, construction or destruction of that clarity for you, and then start making those changes and integrate that into your daily life. So then that way you're not just listening to me talk, you're actually making that change, because it does no good if you just take the information and then don't integrate it. It does no good to you. It does no good to me. It doesn't make a huge difference in my day-to-day, but I would love to hear down the road that you integrated some of the things that we talk about here and that you really gained in a positive way. And I meet you one day in person and we get to talk about your journey and have that moment together. I really look forward to having those moments with more and more people as this podcast continues to grow like it has been week over week. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys sharing this podcast with people that are close to you and that matter to you, because we really just want to make sure that we're helping the world become a better place, because it needs it now more than ever. So without further ado, guys, my name is Tyler Hardy. Thank you for joining the RAVER podcast, and we will be talking to you soon. Have a great day.